Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Canty, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. And I love helping people to discover ways and means to love their life and live their passion, to live enlightened, which simply means to live in this moment now, experiencing all the good, all the God, all the wonder, all the joy, peace, and prosperity that is available to us right here, right now, in this moment. In today's episode, we're diving deep into the spiritual meaning of authenticity. You know, that word is being bantered about quite a bit lately, and let's just explore. Authenticity is more than just being yourself, because it begs the question, well, who are you? Who is yourself? Let's find out. I'm Elizabeth Canty, and I just invite you to check in with you. Check in. Who are you being as you listen to this podcast? Are you being yourself, your authentic self, curious, excited, looking for that gem of inspiration that will enhance your being? Because who you are being is everything. So let's explore what it means to live authentically. As I said, it's more than just being yourself, although if we know who we are, it's a lot easier to live our authentic life. I think it's about being in alignment with our highest truth, shedding the masks of societal expectations, cultural expectations, familial expectations, what other people want or expect from us. When we let go of that, we can begin to see, who am I and why am I here? What am I here to express? And then we can embrace who we are at our core, really embrace, love, send love to this unique person that we are. So maybe it means, to be authentic means being true to who we are, to our particular values, to our values as they express in beliefs and feelings, and then expressing those honestly, regardless of those, I'm going to say, external pressures like family, friends, culture, employees, all those places where we go in our life. But what about the internal pressures that we've created for ourselves? That we don't feel that it's appropriate to express our feelings, or we don't feel supported or safe in an atmosphere where we can express our feelings. So we've created these boundaries. We've created these rules of what we can and cannot express. We've decided in many cases what people will accept of us. We've decided that, oh, I can't talk like that with my mom or with my dad or with my siblings. I can't talk about these feelings or that history or these kinds of events with these people. We've created our own rules that define who we can be in certain situations, relationships, and when certain events happen. That's not being authentic. Right? It's living under a paradigm that we have either created in our own mind or we've accepted by someone else creating it, and we've agreed to that. Either way, we are in agreement. We are in creating that restriction for ourselves. Brené Brown, a research professor and best-selling author, defines authenticity as the daily practice of letting go of who we think we are, who we think we're supposed to be, and embracing who we are, who we truly are. It's about letting go of all those ideas, the concepts, the beliefs that we should be, that we have to, that we can never do. All those limiting phrases that we use on ourselves. And instead letting them go, just letting them drop one by one, revealing who am I really in this situation. And of course, Brené Brown also talks about vulnerability. It takes vulnerability. And last week I spoke about courage to face the world without the masks. Oh, it's October. We all wear a mask for Halloween, but we're wearing masks all the time. We wear a mask in our families, right? We're the middle child, we're the oldest. We have to keep it all together. We're the smart one. We're the one that's always trying to figure it out. We're the black sheep. Whatever it is, we have that mask going on. We have a mask at work. I'm the boss. I'm in charge. I have to know everything. Or I'm new here. I'm never going to figure this out. Whatever that mask is. But it takes courage and incredible vulnerability to go out in our everyday world, the world that we've created where it's unsafe to be me. And now we're going to step out and say, well, I'm going to do it anyway. That's what courage is. It doesn't feel good, but I'm going to do it anyway, because what is it costing us when we're not ourselves? And how long are we going to live our life, decades, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, not really being true to ourselves, honoring who we are, what we love, how we enjoy being in the world? In her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, she highlights how authenticity requires us to be vulnerable. And yet, of course, in all of her research, she started out doing this vulnerability research. And that's what makes us real. That's actually how people truly connect with us. When we allow the space for us to be vulnerable first with ourselves, because that's the only place it can start. First with ourselves, we give ourselves space to actually see and know and feel what we are feeling, to see who we are being in a situation, to observe, to witness with compassion when we aren't being our authentic self. And then to be vulnerable is to be real. And that is how our closest connections with others develop, is when we have the courage to be vulnerable with them. Think about the people that you really respect and honor in your life as someone who is a model for authenticity. I bet you find that they are vulnerable. And when they're modeling that for you, it's easy to be vulnerable back. When someone gives you an insight, a deep insight to their pain or their confusion or their joy or their clarity, whatever it is, that when they allow us to see something real, something honest, don't you just feel like melting into that and sharing back something beautiful, something real and honest about yourself? I mean, that's true connection and connectivity. So, authenticity isn't about just doing what makes us feel comfortable. It certainly isn't doing what we've always done, because what if we haven't been being authentic? It's about the courage to be seen and heard for who we are, flaws, warts, and all. But it has to start with ourselves. It's it doesn't do much good walking out to the world and say, I'm going to be authentic now. And we, blurt out everything we're feeling, thinking, sensing, all of those things, our ideas, our comments. That's just commentary, really. But to be truly authentic, it begins with ourselves. It begins with embracing those parts of us that we'd rather not share with anyone. Those parts of ourselves that can be deeply fearful at times, or when we find ourselves being very conflicted or confused. We think, I can't share that with my kids or with my parents. I want them to see me a certain way. Well, let's begin with seeing ourselves in all of our glory, the confusion, the misunderstandings, um, the mistakes, the mistakes, the missteps, the places where we really knew, we really felt in our heart, I should have gone right, and I took a hard left. And things did not go well, you know? And looking at ourselves and embracing that is, I believe, the beginning of authenticity. It's saying, I made a mistake. I can't see the truth in this situation. I can't find my way in this event or this relationship. And it's just with ourselves at first. We don't have to announce that to the world, but it's being with ourselves in that way, in compassion and in love. And then we create the space for ourselves that is safe, that's safe to be us. And when we've created that for ourselves, we cannot help but invite those that are willing to step into the space that we've created for ourselves to be safe. And they amplify, they magnify our feeling of safety. They are inviting us to share what we've already created, which is that safe space to be all of ourselves, to honor all of who we are. That's powerful. Last week, I talked about freedom. That's freedom. I mean, we're getting it now, right? That the freedom to be me is the courage to let go of everything that really isn't me. I'm not always in control. That would be that would be ridiculous. I'm pretty much never in control. I'm not always got it all together. I don't always have the answer. I mean, pretty much never have the answer. But that's the freedom to allow the answer to come from within, to come from source, to be informed by spirit, to be inspired with the answer. Because if I believe that I always have to know the answer, then my cognitive mind, my thinking mind, my finite mind, my ego is going to come up with what it believes is the answer. And I am squashing inspiration. I'm I'm not open and available to be inspired in spirit, in in that breathing in and out, allowing the newness, the revelation of life to reveal to me what is next, or a resolution to a situation or an event or circumstance. So it's not just about what feels comfortable. It's about the courage to be uncomfortable, no matter how many years we've been standing in our mask. We've been wearing the different masks in the different groups that we're in. At some point, we all come to a place where it's time to lay down the masks. At the heart of spiritual growth is this journey towards authentic living. Most of us find that this process is ongoing and ever expanding. As soon as we decide, it's as simple as making the decision to take that first step to inquire, who am I really in this situation? What am I really feeling in this situation? Not what first comes up, which may be very valid and perfect, but what first comes up sometimes for me is the past conditioning. I had a recent event where a friend called from out of the blue, someone I hadn't seen in a long time, hadn't talked to in a long time, and we see each other very occasionally. And she asked for a really big favor, kind of out of the blue. And my instinct is, well, yes, let me make that happen. And I had so many other obligations and events and things to do for that day. And I really didn't want to not be present for all the things I had previously committed to accommodate this sort of out of the blue, kind of strange request from someone I rarely see. And I found myself in this little bit of a struggle. And I'm thinking, why am I struggling? This is not a struggle. The first thing that came up was, yes, I want to accommodate you. And the next thing that came up is observing that, knowing I don't want to accommodate this. I don't want this to impinge on my other obligations that feel good to me, that I felt good when I agreed to these other things. And so I got to say, no, I cannot accommodate that at this time. I appreciate you asking or thinking of me. And it felt so good. And then I didn't hear back from this person. It was like, oh, my people pleasing wanted to say, oh, I should call, I should fix this. No, I shouldn't. I don't mean no, I shouldn't. I mean, whenever we hear ourselves saying I should or I shouldn't, just check it out, look into it. It's just these programs running us. But I believe that when we are in true alignment, spirit, mind, and body, when we are living authentically, expressing ourselves authentically, then it feels good to say no, even when that doesn't feel good. Does that make sense? I'm in alignment saying no, even though I truly don't want to disappoint somebody. I can have compassion and say no at the same time. I can have compassion for myself to recognize, oh, this is my past conditioning of wanting to be there for everybody, which is part of the story of I want everyone to like me, right? It just goes back and back and back into childhood, into putting on the mask where I have to be liked, I have to be accepted into my tribe, my people, knowing that's a basic core fundamental need for us as human beings is to be accepted in our tribe. So we put these things together, usually from events in our childhood that are from a childlike mind. They're from the ego that is trying to survive in the family unit, in the community unit. And we make decisions that don't necessarily serve us anymore. We've lived by those decisions. And those decisions, I talked about it last week, are hindering us in our freedom to be. They're hindering us in our freedom to express who we are authentically. So when we live out of alignment with our true selves, we create this internal conflict, part of which I've just described, which manifests for all of us in that situation I just described as, stress, even though that was very low level because I've been doing this for a while, it was moments. But if that's a kind of event that can draw out in our life, it can be days or hours or weeks of stress trying to accommodate a family member or trying to accommodate a situation that really doesn't make us feel good. It doesn't align with the truth of our being. And that, of course, we know leads to, if we keep accumulating that kind of stress and that kind of anxiety, if we continue to live out of alignment with spirit, mind, and body and our true nature, our true essence, we can experience physical illness. Yeah. I loved Anita Moorjani's book, Dying to Be Me. She explains that the core of her healing came from realizing the importance of self-love and authenticity. She talks about in that book how she spent so many years trying to please others, her family, culturally, religiously, spiritually, having an arranged marriage, being Hindu, being in Catholic school, and how that kind of tore her apart in the two different communities, one which was her Hindu family and culture, and the other which was her schoolmates and being in a Catholic school. And imagine she just spent so much of her life trying to please all the different groups that she didn't know truly who she was in all of that. And after her near-death experience, I encourage you to read that book, Dying to Be Me. I remember thinking, I was just so engrossed in that book. I read it a very long time ago. I was so engrossed in that book, and I thought this is going to be this crazy, amazing, huge realization that is going to just rock the world. But what she said, what she understood, what she brought back from the other realm, she said, was that we are all here, and she was to teach for the rest of her life that we are here to simply be ourselves. Isn't that crazy that sometimes I'm feeling it now that why is it so hard to be ourselves? But I've described just little bits and pieces for me of being a child, and we are meaning making machines. So when something happens in our childhood and we're told to not do this, to stop doing that, that's bad, that's wrong, that's a terrible thing, and we feel excommunicated. I've told the story. Kindergarten, first day, I'm talking to John Bryan. He's sitting in first of all, we're in desks. I've never been in a desk before. I'm 4 years old. And Mother de Montfort was teaching on her platform from her desk, and I'm talking to John behind me because he has really shiny hair. I wanted to touch his hair, I think. And Mother de Montfort called my name and made me go stand behind her with my nose against the blackboard. And what I made that mean. So that's the event, right? It's not terribly traumatic. It's not a horrible situation, but it was the first time I felt humiliated. I'd never, as a child, felt humiliated. And then I made that mean as I'm standing behind her, just not understanding anything that's happening. I'm in a foreign world where someone calls my name and I've got this humiliation running in my body. And what I made that mean was, I don't know what's going on. Everyone else knows what's going on, but I don't know what's going on. And that helped me be very introverted. Now, I believe that I came here to learn that lesson. So she was playing a role so that I could make those assumptions that everyone else knows what's going on. I have to be quiet. I got called out for talking. I have to be quiet. I have to listen and observe and watch everyone else because I don't know what's going on. These are decisions I made at 4 years old, and they played themselves out beautifully in my life. But she was just acting her role on what I believe I was here to learn and to overcome, is to find my authentic expression. So again, just the importance of what we make facts mean. The fact is, I was talking, got called up, and I did feel humiliated for the first time. I was thinking about this. If it was like one of my brothers, they probably would have taken that opportunity to be really silly and to dance and to turn around and make faces or something because they were like that. But I was the shy one. I was the one who was just going to be humiliated. And to have that, I assigned it that meaning. So when I read that we are here just to be ourselves, The task then is to let go of all those decisions that we made so that we could fit in, so that we wouldn't be humiliated, so that we wouldn't be called out in front of our peers. So we keep creating those events in our lives until we decide no more, until we decide, so what if I don't have the answer in front of my peers? So what if I'm called out for not doing a great job at work? I don't have to make that mean anything except I'll bring you a revision by 5 p.m. tomorrow. Why can't it just mean that? I mean, that's what we're working towards, is to let ourselves be growing and expanding and listening to others and validating their reality that they live in, but honoring, first of all, ours. I don't have to feel or I don't have to make that mean what it what I used to make it mean anymore. You know, I can find my authentic expression. I can find my voice and I can speak up as loudly as I want and I can be wrong. And it's okay. I can love myself for that. Finding ourselves in that. And I remember, I think it was Wayne Dyer, and he said authenticity is recognizing that we are not separate from the divine. And so when we experience that oneness, that unity, when we let go of the feelings of separation from our authentic self, from our divinity, then we can live from that place that is not encumbered by our past conditioning, our past limitation, beliefs in lack and limitation. When we are aligning spirit, mind, and body, there is nothing that cannot come to us in a moment. And it is the way we are meant to experience the moment, meaning taking in whatever is around us, experiencing the moment from within, taking in whatever is being revealed through us and to us, and then allowing that to express through us. Again, it's that all of that happening in the moment that we are in alignment and authentic. It's that feeling of being in harmony. When you're in sports or we hear athletes talk about the flow state, well, I know that performers, musicians, actors, other people, directors, even everyone, writers in fiction, nonfiction, whatever it is, there's a flow state. It feels like it's happening to, through, and as me all at the same time. And that is flow, that is harmony, and it's authentic. It's feeling like it's bigger than me, but it's me at my biggest, most authentic expression. And that's truly where we're moving to. And moving in that direction means just sloughing off, just letting go. Those moments where it's like, I should do this. Oh, something that catches you off guard and you feel that conditioning coming in. Well, what if they get mad? What if they don't ever call me again? Yeah. Answer the question, what if? Then they weren't really a good friend. Let's allow ourselves to dive into it, to explore authentically and with compassion. When we are caught up in what anyone else thinks, and that means really our closest people, when my son or my mom, right, or my siblings, if there's anyone that I'm worried about what they will think or say or do because of something I choose to express, then my head is in the past conditioning. But when I am in alignment with myself, the desire for approval, for external validation, for someone to say, oh, that's good, or oh, you should never say that. We can just embrace they're who they think they need to be in that moment and stay in alignment with who we are. And that aligns us with our divine purpose. And my belief is that our purpose is always to be our authentic expression in each and every moment. There's no other purpose. That never changes. Whether we're at the grocery store, a dinner party, a sporting event, reading a book, we are to be that perfect expression of who and what we are, regardless of external circumstances. So it's been a while, but I've done a lot of podcasts on, the ego. And my idea of the ego is a subset of a finite mind. Finite mind is a subset of infinite mind, one creative intelligence that creates and governs and guides the universe, right? So then there's out of that one mind, there is I would call that infinite mind. And then there's our finite mind. What we experience as a human being is the result of, let's say, our education, our history, our past, the ideas that we've accumulated, our education. But it also includes intuition and things that we don't know that we know. Like we might intuit something that we didn't actually study or know. So we are connected in that finite mind. I always talk about it like it's if you see it as a circle, it's hyphenated. It's not a solid line around us that is separating us from infinite mind or from each other. It's hyphenated. It's got it can move, it can expand. So I think that's why, or how psychics and other people can move, intuitives can expand maybe into your finite mind, into your space, and you're expanding. And so we're expanding finite mind, right? Into knowing more and more. That's divine intuition, that's divine inspiration, being open to what we don't currently know. We move beyond. And the ego for me is a subset of finite mind. It isn't an entity. It isn't something we're born with. We don't cut our brain open and find, oh, there's the ego in there. There it is. It is a set of beliefs, part of which I just described in my childhood, where I made something mean that I had to be a certain way. Well, that's my ego. My ego decides you better be small. You better not be seen, or they're going to call you out and humiliate you. That's my ego making decisions to protect me. It's only for my protection, it believes, but it's not an it. It's not an entity. It's not a real thing. It's a subset of beliefs. And so that's our practice, is to witness them as they come up. And I think it's very powerful when we can remember those childhood moments, when we can love that child that we were, when we can love Mother de Montfort, for calling me out, for participating in my ultimate growth and healing, revealing what it is that I have come here to learn and to move beyond, to transcend these ideas that I must be small, that I must not know everything. I can't know everything. Everybody else knows everything, but I don't. So I have to get my degree and my master's degree and my doctorate degree. And if they had another one, I'd get that. But I've stopped finally. So that because I can know what I know, I can live in this beautiful finite mind, this ego that knows how to protect me if there's an alligator in the swimming pool or a bear in the backyard, and I can do fight or flight, when that really needs to happen. But the rest of the time, I can say, thank you. That was so sweet that you're trying to protect me. But you know what? Spirit, mind, body, this entity that of who I am in wholeness and oneness, we got this. We got this. And we shed and we let go of all that is not allowing us to be authentic. So when we are being authentic, it's this stripping away. Sometimes I'm just going to say it painfully, working with someone, remembering things that we had forgotten. And remembering the events is one thing, but then we remember what we made that event mean. And it's painful because we see that little girl, that little boy, we see who we were, we see why we made those choices. That's our journey. And we did have to make those choices because that's what we did. And so we love ourselves now to say we don't have to continue to make those choices. We don't have to continue that conditioning. We can just love ourselves into the wholeness and the fullness of our being, stripping away, those decisions that we made from small t traumatic events or big T traumatic events. Those are layers of conditioning, the false identities, the masks, trying to get approval, trying to not get noticed or called out, all the things that we have done in the past. We begin to realize that what is beneath that is so much more powerful, so much more comfortable, so much more in alignment. That energy is freed up in our bodies. The mental energy to protect and constrain and to live by these past identities, that mental energy is freed up. The emotional energy is freed up. And we are aligned in spirit to find new expressions of who we have always been. And that is so joyful and so powerful. We get to ask, what is true for me now? What is true for me in this situation? And it may take, like I described, my friend called me going back and forth into who I've always been, what I am committed to, what is actually happening here. And it's exploring. I just love this, like a beautiful, crystal ball. We're just exploring, like what's in there, what's happening right now, and allowing ourselves to explore before we go straight into past conditionings. Or here's a trap: before we go into the opposite of it, we think I'll just say no to everything, and or I just won't please anybody. Like like that's gonna change, who we are. That's not it. In case you can't make that make sense, doing the opposite of what we always have done is still being trapped by what we have always done, those decisions that we made. It's just the other end of that stick. So what we really want to do is be still, witness, observe, and then allow ourselves to be inspired with the breath, breathing in, connecting, aligning, integrating spirit, mind, and body. I think one of the biggest keys is to practicing this in our life, to allowing ourselves to experiment. As I said, first, for me, it always begins within. It's not something we go out and do. It's those moments of how am I feeling after this phone call, after reading this social media post, after seeing the news event. Who am I being in this? And is that in alignment with my highest self? Is that integrating spirit, mind, and body? Is that part of my wonderful personal expression that I came here to be? And explore. Allow yourself to explore. And then bringing that type of exploration into our relationships, into our workplace, into our social media, or whatever it is that we do. It's just aligning first within and then experimenting. How does that want to come out? How do I want to show my authentic self in this situation? Even if it's uncomfortable, even if I'm uncomfortable, I may look really uncomfortable doing it. And I do it anyway. That's courage. And again, vulnerability is that thing that connects us. So when we can be honest about how uncomfortable we are, people relate because guess what they're doing? They're putting up the mask that they're never uncomfortable, that they always have the answers, that they're always in control. I mean, this is just part of being human. It's not bad. It's just the further we explore, the more amazing it is to be in alignment with all of who we are and not just the mask, not just the ego. It's like we just expand into sort of this finite mind and into intuition and then into infinite mind and allow ourselves to be informed. What is mine to do? Who am I to be in this? And revel in it, enjoy that we're, whatever we are, lighthearted, or we're heavy-handed, or we're analytical, or we're organized, or we're, extremely extroverted, or intimately introverted, enjoying all of who we are authentically. So I believe that being authentic is a practice of living in alignment with our true essence and allowing that unfoldment of purpose, being our authentic self to unfold in each and every moment, whether we're at the grocery store or in a meeting or with our family at a big event, whatever it is, by shedding the layers of the societal conditioning, the cultural conditioning, the familial conditioning that we get from our families, and embracing, the vulnerability to say, hey guys, you probably haven't heard me say this, or you probably haven't experienced me like this, but I'm going through something or I'm working on something. I want to share it with you. Whew. And aligning with that higher self that moves the ego just into the back seat, we don't need your protection here. I'm with family. I've created a safe space for me to use these words, for me to express myself. I've created the safe space. I'm not relying on someone else to create it. And so we move the ego to the back seat and we just allow ourself to flow. And then we unlock that deeper connection with not just ourselves and our highest self, not just our peace and our joy, our happiness, our power, but we connect with those around us on a deeper level. Guess what? Even if they are not being their authentic self, which is not for us to decide if they are or they aren't. We don't have to. We don't have to acknowledge. We don't have to determine who and how they're being. That's not for us to decide, but we can. Isn't that freedom? Isn't that joy? Isn't that empowering? Thank you once again for joining me in this exploration. And if you found this episode enlightening, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. It means a lot in helping me get this wonderful message out to more and more people who may not have heard it before. And share it with someone. Maybe they're ready to begin their journey of self-discovery. If this message resonated with you, please comment below and share your experiences. How are you living authentically? What challenges have come up for you and how did you overcome them? I invite you this week to laugh, love, and live enlightened every single day. Love your life. Love who you are. Love who you've been. Love it all. If you're here, you're ready to embrace a deeper sense of joy, peace, and fulfillment in your life. Well, my book, Living Enlightened, The Joy of Integrating Spirit, Mind, and Body, has won the cover award for spiritual healing. This transformative book offers practical wisdom to bring balance and joy into your life by aligning your spirit, mind, and body. You can find Living Enlightened on Amazon now. The link is in the notes below. And visit my website, elizabethcanty.com, for more inspiration, insights, and guidance to living enlightened every single day.